Hello friends, it's Ms. Nastrick here. We are going to keep talking about shapes. So we have been talking about our two different shape families. One of them is geometric shapes. Can you say geometric? So our geometric shapes are our triangles, circles, squares, rectangles, diamonds, all those shapes that we know have names. They have to be a certain way. There are specific instructions on how a circle is supposed to look, on how a triangle is supposed to look, and they have to follow those rules. Organic shapes are the other type of shape. Can you guys say organic? So organic shapes are made and found in nature. So these might be rocks and clouds, but they also might be leaves, bark, trees, flowers, grass, clovers, that kind of thing. So we've got geometric shapes and organic shapes. Shapes are found all around us, and they might be hidden in places that you've never seen before, or maybe not think of seeing. So in this picture right here, I'll zoom in a little bit, or try to. So in this picture, this is made by Sol LeWitt, who made this wall drawing. It's kind of like a mural, and there are lots of different shapes that are found in this mural. What shapes do you guys see? I'll give you a second to look at it. There are three main shapes. We've got the outside, that's a square. The inside is a triangle, and then there's some little triangles inside the big triangle. And then all of the colors inside are made up of rectangles. So we've got a square, triangles, and rectangles. And I can zoom in so you guys can see a little bit more. So you see these rectangles that made up the big triangles, and then all the little triangles inside. Lots of different shapes. So we've already talked a little bit about Vasily Kandinsky. Kandinsky was the artist that we talked about when we were listening to music and talking about lines, but Kandinsky was also really known for the shapes that he used. So he used lots of shapes in his artwork. What are some of the shapes you guys see in this picture? There are overlapping shapes. I see lots of circles. I see some rectangles. I see a little bit of a triangle right here. It's not the type of triangle we might normally see, but it's got three sides. So it's a triangle. There's a triangle right here. So we've got circles and rectangles in this piece. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. And then Kandinsky was known for abstract art. So can you guys say the word abstract? So abstract art is the type of art that we've talked about a little bit that's made up of lines, shapes, and colors. So an abstract painting doesn't really look like anything. It's made up of only lines, shapes, and colors, and they might be placed somewhere on purpose, but they're not made to look like a certain thing. And because we're human, we try to make sense of stuff. So we might be like, well, this kind of looks like a roller coaster over here. This kind of looks like a dragon or some sort of monster. This might look like the side of a hat or maybe the top of a hill. We try to make sense of it, but it doesn't really make any sense, and that's okay. That's an abstract painting. A realistic painting looks like something that you would see in everyday life. So this painting is by John Singer Sargent, and he was a painter who painted things that we would see all the time in everyday life. So his everyday life was in the 1800s, so way before we were born, before your grandparents were born. But he painted everyday scenes. So like this was a party and there's this woman dancing, some people playing guitars in the background, and it's really easy to tell what's going on in this picture. In realistic paintings, we can tell what's going on. In abstract paintings, not so much. So today we're going to make an abstract drawing. So what you're going to need is one shape to trace. I'm going to use the spoon holder because I think it's a fun shape. It's a spoon rest, so you put your spoon on it when you're cooking. But if you have a fun cookie cutter shape, that might be a really good idea to use. So go find a fun shape that you want to trace, and then meet me back here with a sheet of paper and a pencil. All right, so once you have your paper and your object that you're going to trace, we are going to practice overlapping, but we're just going to draw on top of each other. We're going to repeat it to kind of create an abstract pattern. So figure out which way makes the most sense for your object to trace. So mine is kind of lifted a little bit because it's a spoon rest, so it's kind of curved like a bowl or a plate. And so I'm going to flip mine over. If you're using a cookie cutter, make sure that you have the sharp side of the cookie cutter face down on your paper and the smooth side where your hand presses down. So when we trace an object, I'll start in the middle. We want to hold still with one hand, and the other hand will carefully stay pressed up against our object the whole time and go around the edge. Notice that my marker doesn't ever leave the side of my spoon rest. When my hand gets in the way, I move it and come back to the same spot. It never leaves the side. We want to be very careful to leave our marker up or pencil up against our object, because if we go all sideways and go crazy with it, then our object won't look, the tracing of our object won't look anything like real life. So here's my object. It looks really crazy and silly. So what I'm going to do to create an abstract piece of art is I'm going to repeat this object over and over again all over my paper. So I'm going to turn it lots of different ways that overlaps with each other, and I'm going to fill the page with this silly organic shape. Oop, see, I missed a little spot, so I need to go back and slow down. Press my marker nice up against the side so I can get every little line. And if you miss anywhere, you can have an adult help you line it back up. It's best to do this in pencil so that if you miss any place, you can erase it and go back. So I'm just going to start overlapping all over my page, and I'm going to fill the whole page with this shape. If your object goes off the page a little bit, that's fine. Just stop when you get to the end of the edge of the page, and that can be the edge of your object. You don't have to make it fit perfectly on your page. All right, now that my page is mostly filled with shapes, there's just a little couple places around the edges that I couldn't get to, and that's totally fine. I'm going to color this so that it's nice and even more crazy. It looks really crazy right now with all the different lines that I have, but I'm going to take my markers or crayons, whatever drawing coloring tool you like best, and I'm going to color each shape. I'm going to look for the shapes inside that I made, and I'm going to color them. You can color all of your shapes. You can color most of your shapes. We want to do our best to try to stay in the lines and color it nice and solid. We've been talking about this in class. It's called craftsmanship. Can you say craftsmanship? So good craftsmanship means that we take our time and we work patiently on our art so that it looks really neat. There are always going to be times where we miss a spot or we color outside the lines, and that's okay. We all have different things that are harder for us, like staying in the lines or maybe coloring nice and solid. And that's part of what makes our art. But we also want to practice going slowly, paying attention to the details so that it looks nice and neat. Lots of kiddos will take their markers and they'll say, Miss Nesterk, I colored it in. But guess what? I can see white. And so I want to encourage you to go back in with your marker and do your best to color in that white spot. This will make your artwork look more complete and more finished. If it helps you to stay away from your drawing lines a little bit so that you don't, if you leave a little space between the line you drew and your color, that might help you stay inside the lines too. It's nice practice. So you don't have to color in every shape, but color in most of your shapes so that this looks like a complete work of art. I'm in the middle of mine, but I'm not gonna make you watch me color in the whole thing. I need to make sure that I wash my hands after I finish because I've got some marker on them. Make sure that your marker cap clicks when you're finished so that the markers don't dry out. So you've just created your own abstract work of art by repeating a shape over and over again by tracing it. So when you're finished, upload it onto Schoology so that I can see it, and I can't wait. If you have any questions, message me on Schoology and I'll help you as soon as I can. Adios.